Good morning, everybody. Psych, 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 psych. Morning, y'all. Morning, 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 morning. It is a Tuesday, I think. I can't keep up. I'm trying to remember exactly what day it is, but let's just go with Tuesday. It's myself, Lebang. Of course, I've got Mash in the house, and I've got my homeboy Ryan. Very
Yo, yo.
excited to be with you this morning. As you know, it's like a takeover. This week there are no rules. We're just doing us. We're gonna have a good time. And so yeah, let's just have some fun. Morning, boys. How we doing? How we feeling?
We are doing great. It's a beautiful morning. The weather, the weather. 1 minute it's cold, 1 minute it's hot. Not that I'm
It's
complaining.
touch and go. It's touch and
Not
go,
that I'm
really.
complaining.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
Ryan, how are you, bro?
I'm not too bad, thanks, Lebang.
Good. Good to see you guys.
A bit tired, you know?
A bit. So I do have to confess, I did something for the first time in my life this weekend. I drove from Johannesburg to Cape Town. It took me 15 hours to get there. This was on Friday. And yesterday I drove back from Cape Town to Johannesburg, and it took me another 15 hours. So tired is a bit of an understatement. My tired is tired. That's like the level that I'm at right now. And I'm just like, you know what, let's just keep it moving. Mash, just close the mouth, honey. I
am thoroughly shocked, Lebang, mostly because I did see you at Rocking the Daisies this weekend. This weekend. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, it's also in Centurion. Lebang is in Centurion.
No.
We even had a couple of listeners comment on the show yesterday. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
They said that they saw you there. And we're like, oh, look at Lebang living her best life.
Oh my word. You just reminded me, actually. Like, a couple of people just came up to me like, Lebang from Cliff Central. I'm like, what is going on here? This is amazing. We just went to the bar, had like gang shots. Look, it was an amazing experience. I just am in recovery mode. Driving to Cape Town is just not easy at all, but it's just, we have such a beautiful country that I was just like, let me see what else is out here. Like, let me just, just go on a road trip and see what else is happening. And yeah, man, it was quite an experience. I was very glad to experience all of that and meet new people, just like see new vibes, and I can officially say the world is open. Like, not even a little bit. People are outside. Everybody is ready to just receive some sun, get soaked in, and just have a good time. So it was nice to be literally surrounded by people from all over the world. It was just like an international music festival that I was a part of. And so I'm just grateful that I made it back in peace. I think I'll only recover Boma Friday. So yeah, looking forward to that. So, what do we have in store for the show today, guys? It's been a while since I've actually sat in the seat, so I'm glad that we get to hang out together and engage. I know that there's a couple of things on Ryan's mind as well that he would like to talk about, which we will get to later at some point in the show. Mash as well as a few things that you want to talk about. That's cool. But also remember that you are a part of the show at home. The WhatsApp line is 071-783-6214. I'm quite keen for the WhatsApps because the WhatsApp voice notes, that's where you see like what's really going on in people's minds. And that's like what's the most interesting to me. So at any point, please do hit us up, send us that WhatsApp voice notes, and also comment section. And I'm going to say it, air fryer. So you know what happens now. I think
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, honey. So that's about it. I'm here. Boys are here. Mash, let's kickstart because I can hear your voice is also a little bit like what's going on. It's also a little bit cooked there. Were you also at Rocking the Daisies? Maybe I didn't see you. Were you also there low key?
Lebang, I wish I was at Rocking the Daisies. I wish I was out there dipping and doing it like you were this weekend. But unfortunately, I wasn't. I was at home working as per usual. And the only reason why my voice is gone is because, just a bit of yelling here and there, just a bit of road rage. That's about it on my end.
Just
that
is
it.
A bit of road rage. If your road rage is leaving you with no voice, I think you've got a problem. Like, how bad is the road rage if you don't have a voice anymore, friend?
Nowadays, and Ryan can actually attest to this, every time I go get food somewhere far away on the roads, the trucks, I don't know what they are thinking, but they always want to switch up lanes on me. I'm just tired.
Oh, man.
I'm just tired at this point. So I'm always just yelling. I find myself yelling so much that I don't even know how to keep my voice anymore.
Askis.
It's fine.
Just try take it easy. Try take it easy. So I think you mentioned something about a new trend happening at drive-thru. Speaking of when you go get food, like number one, I'm ridiculously hungry right now. I haven't eaten in a minute. All I've been doing is like working and partying. Mash, what's happening at drive-thrus? Give us the update, the 411.
Let me tell y'all. So as crime and unemployment increased during the period leading up to the festive season, hijackings and opportunistic crimes traditionally increase, as we all know, living in South Africa. But this year, however, there's a new trend emerging, and Fidelity ADT has actually warned of a new modus operandi where motorists are being targeted while buying food at drive-thru establishments.
Haibo.
Yes.
So I've heard about this actually.
How though? What if you're just like innocently going to get yourself like a Big Mac and some fries, and that's all you want? Just want to leave with your vehicle. What are these people doing to us, bro?
Hey, so typically, as you get to the front of the queue, armed suspects from the vehicle in front of you get out and attempt to hijack your vehicle. And then usually it's 2 cars involved, so there'll be another car behind you. So you are trapped. You can't go anywhere.
So like you are the burger now. Like in terms, like you are in you are the Big Mac. You are the meat, and then there's a burger and a bun, and then you're just trapped.
While you're there, busy, you're there. Hey, born cook zero kimo dieting. They come for your car as well.
Oh my God.
So you'll be on a proper diet because you'll be walking for a while.
Oh no, man.
So it is so unfortunate. It's something that is happening at the moment. And guys, be careful out there. Be careful.
You know, I thought it was a matter of time because there's been a couple drive-thrus I've been to where, you know, when you can't drive out, like when you just, as soon as you order and you go in, there's no way out. There's literally, and I was just thinking to myself, you're a sitting duck at this point. So I'm not shocked, but it is a worrying thing that now even when you just go get our food, you have to
just be alert. I heard that there's also something happening at like car washes as well of a very similar nature. Where you go to the car wash, and then like obviously you leave your car there for them to do their thing. While you're leaving your vehicle there, others are entering the establishment, paying for the car being washed. They get in and they just dip. Like it's hectic. I don't know what's going on. Well, I guess what you're saying is it is what it is, Mash. It's like leading up to festive season. Unemployment is high. People are hungry. They're willing to do anything just to get something to survive. And I mean, obviously the real cost is us tax-paying South Africans are the ones that actually suffer. Absolutely. You know, it just seems a little bit wild and unfair. It's also something I noticed this weekend when I was in Darling is like, guys, theft is rife. Theft is rife. Like it doesn't matter where you are, where you're at. People are generally going to be jacking your things. Just be careful. Keep things on you all the time. And just be safe. Like the world is moving different. I said it like yesterday that I think there's something in the air. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what the name of that thing is. I don't know what to describe it, but there is something just like an untold energy that is lingering in the air. And like, it's not the best energy right now. It's really, really like pushing us to our limits as South Africans. And it is definitely scary. I mean, Basitsana is saying in the comments that, geez, guys, this is so scary. Yes.
It is terrifying. And my piece of advice to everyone out there is that, listen here, if a 2 comes for you, I mean, if a 10 comes at you and you're a 2, they just want your phone or your car, okay? That's some valuable information to keep with you and do with it what you want to.
What you will. Oh, man, I love this. A joking atheist in the comments is saying, steal a car from a car wash and you can get away clean. Don't you just love it here? Corona's Boring is saying, hungry people can't eat cars. Well, hey, you'll be surprised these days what hunger can do. Peter Goning is saying, lazy people being targeted, too lazy to make food, too lazy to wash their own cars. Suffer, exclamation mark. Oh, damn. The world is just in quite a dire state at this moment. It's almost like we're too scared to go outside because anything can happen. It's like, where is the safety? You know, where are we protected? I think I'm just at that point where I'm like, just look after yourself, look after your immediate world, and then hopefully like everybody will catch on to that, so there isn't this like insane ripple effect. You know, speaking of lazy people, like one of the biggest takeaways from my weekend in Cape Town was really how different the hobos there are. And the best way I can explain it is that the hobos in Cape Town are so aggressive. They like in your face, like, dude, I'm hungry and this is now your problem. Do something about it. So we leaving Rocking the Daisies. We drive down to town. We want to get Gatsby's. We're like, oh, we're so excited. We get some Gatsby's, which were ridiculously delicious, by the way, just throwing it out there. This is not paid promo. I just realized how delicious those things are. And while we're at this like place, there's like a guy standing there in front of my car and he's like, hey, I need a ride to blah, 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 blah. I'm like, sorry, my car's full. He's like, okay, well, I need 80 Rand to get there. I'm like, okay, well, here's 20. Good luck. Bon voyage, as you were. That man stood there in front of my car. He didn't leave until he pretty much got that money. And I was like, I don't understand how this is like now my problem. So I thought maybe I'm overreacting. And then I get to like a gas station and there's another homeless guy there who's pretty much like knocking at my window like, yeah, ma'am, hello. Can I get a cigarette, please? I said, please. And I'm like, sorry, I don't smoke. I don't have any cigarettes on me. He's like, oh, no, ma'am, come on, ma'am. And that guy stood there until like something happened. And I was like, this is weird. I kept having to remind myself that I'm actually not in Joburg. I'm in a different city. I'm learning new things about the energy around here and how people operate. And I found that extremely sad that, it's at that level where you can't just go about your day. You have to stop at every point and help every single person because they are that aggressive about the fact that they need help. It was just a bit of a shock to me anyway. I didn't expect that. Like
entitled that side.
That is the word. The entitlement is quite high, but at the same time, I realized that I'm sure the poverty is pretty lit that side. I mean, with Joburg, I know there's a lot of poverty as well, but in Joburg, like there's a big energy of hustling. Like you can make a plan, you can panda, get some bread, get this,
Yes.
In Cape Town, they stand there, bro. They stand and they go,
It's
I'm
still
hungry.
vibes that side.
I'm hungry, bro. Do something. Feed me.
I even found the taxis that side are a lot more aggressive. I don't know about you. They would cut me off way more than the Joburg one. And I get pissed at the Joburg one.
Those people can't drive. Those
and
people
they drive
can't
with the
drive.
doors open. Have you seen this? And they shout where they're going. It's a whole different movement there.
It really is. I was quite taken aback. Like it's just, man, it's pretty hectic. It's pretty, like no one there can drive properly. The hobos are entitled. Really, the only thing that like Cape Town's got going for it is that it's absolutely stunning. And every single time I'm there, like I just get taken aback by the beauty. Like the beauty makes up for like all the other mess because it's really the most beautiful place ever. Like I was just in awe. I was just like, whoa, this is so great. And like I've been there many times, but seeing it over and over again really makes you appreciate exactly what's going on in the world. Okay, Terrence is asking, did I go to the one in Long Street next to Stones? Girl, I don't know where I went. I just typed in the G Maps, food, great food, and then like, bing, that's exactly where it took me. So I was just
Have you been to Long Street?
I've been to Long Street many, many times. I just never like remember my experience because I'm always having so much fun. Like it's literally
a lot of other people.
Like just club hopping, bar hopping, vibe hopping every 2 minutes. Oh, let's go there. Oh no, now we can go there. The options are many. So it's always a good time, not a long time. But overall, shout out to Gupstart. And if you've just joined us this morning and you're wondering what is happening, Gareth is some would say on a sabbatical. Some would say, he's just like getting a BBL. I don't know. Some would say many other things, but on the real, he's literally living his best life out there. We're actually going to get a bit of an update with regards to exactly how his trip is going and just to see how he's doing. I mean, hopefully he's enjoying himself. He's having a lekker time. Which would be nice for him. We must just bring back some, some little nuggets. Like, and I always say, if you travel somewhere, just bring us something back. Even if it's like just a little souvenir. It doesn't even need to have a souvenir, but just something that represents that place. Like last time, him and Rena went to New York and Mexico. I made them bring me back some sand. I was like, bro, you guys are going to some really nice beaches. Just get a bottle, say sand, and the world is your oyster. So Ryan, I noticed that you actually watch a lot of my WhatsApp statuses, which I think is really cool, and a lot of my Instagram stories, which is also really cool because you would have seen that on my journey down to Cape Town, I came across an energy drink that's actually called Bang energy drink. So remember that like the people that I'm moving with like my crew. So it's like my videographers, my photographers, my content producers. So they all like, oh my word, Bang energy drink, do a commercial. So I'm like, oh yeah, totally. So I get into this gas station. Oh my God, guys, I've got a new energy drink. It's called Bang. This is where you can get it. I'm so excited. I kid you not. I posted that thing on WhatsApp and within like 10 minutes, everyone's like, congratulations.
we were in the office when we saw it. Mash, was it Jane or was it you who popped it up? And we were talking about
Ryan
or some Piwe.
You popped it up and you said Lebang has her own energy drink. And I was
Was
like,
it me?
huh? What energy
I
drink?
thought it was some Piwe because some Piwe said, and then we still said, I'm sure it's not her own energy drink because we know Bang from TikTok.
Yes.
You know that Bang energy drink, it's big on TikTok.
Oh, is it? Okay, word.
Yeah, and it's just come to South Africa, or at least in the last couple months.
Yeah.
So I saw it and I was like, did Lebang get a deal here? Like, what's going on? Because you've been making a lot of appearances lately.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Remember, you had that appearance at that club, Mash, what is that club called?
Club.
Which club was that?
Where you were going to fall into the water. You were...
Oh, that's that splash thing.
The
Okay.
splash thing, yeah. So I was like, man, Lebang's getting deals now. What's going on here?
So no. Honestly, I just saw that energy drink in the gas station and I just like was having fun with it. What I didn't expect is for people to believe that it's actually true. So now I'm like in this place of like, do I tell them? Do I just ride the lie? Do I just ride the wave?
Run with it, you know?
Run with it. Do I do like a public service announcement, like, release an official statement saying, hey guys, please give me and my family some space. We need time. We're joking or something. But like, no, definitely not. It was just part of the road trip. We were in like the Karoo, I think.
Ooh, awesome.
We were in the Karoo and there was this like gas station all by itself. Like it was literally like the only one. The next one was maybe like 2 hours away or so. So when we got there, I was like, sure, finally got in there. I was like, whoa, Bang energy drink. Hell yeah, turn the cameras on. And we just like made a bit of a commercial out of it. But what that showed me is that like you can literally like make up a whole lie and people will believe you. People will absolutely believe whatever you put out there. Like, be careful, y'all.
That is true.
Like the fake news energy is just so wild. Like it just made me realize that the stuff we're consuming, a lot of it is probably just hogwash and we won't even know it. Just because it's out there, we'll believe it. Sure,
Yeah,
that
that
scared
is
me.
absolutely true.
That absolutely scared me. I mean, speaking of which, Kanye West, for instance, who, as you know, is just whiling, like he's just taking social media to a whole nother level. Brian, what's actually happening? Sorry, Ryan, what's actually happening there with your boy?
I don't know what's going on. I've been noticing. So he's been putting up a lot of posts, right, on Instagram, and then he got locked out of Instagram, and then he moved on to Twitter. And then he got locked out of Twitter because he posted some anti-Semitic tweets saying he's going to take Jews to DEFCON 3.
What?
Yeah, that's what he said. And so he's been suspended on these platforms. And he's just, all these posts are so wild. So now he's also getting thrown into the whole censored game. You know, Andrew Tate was in it first. There was a couple guys before that. Donald Trump's in it. So now, Kanye West is now banned on well, I don't know if he's banned. He's suspended on Twitter, I think.
Yeah. What
And
is
I'm just
Kanye
like-
going through? I think he's definitely going through something currently.
I saw a video yesterday that he actually leaked when he had a meeting with the Adidas management
Yeah.
about how they've been misusing the Yeezy brand.
Okay.
And he played them a porn video to showcase
Hey, but
to showcase how this is their worst nightmare. It is so weird. I saw it on the No Jumper page
Kanye
on
West.
Instagram, and he went to the CEO and he played this porn segment, and he's like, dude, like, come on. And and she's like, well, this is gonna be your worst nightmare. And he says, see, this is you.
What?
And I was like, what is going on here? This is
somebody
crazy.
help the boy,
Yeah.
help Kanye. He's
I don't
clearly
get-
going through something.
I don't get how that's someone's worst nightmare to start with. But he is going through quite a lot.
He is.
I mean,
he
ever since the
is.
divorce with Kim Kardashian,
It's been
things have just been
downhill.
down.
He's just, man, I hope he gets some help. But at the same time, this is Kanye West. It's like the gift and the curse of being a genius. Like you'll do really amazing things and you'll, be groundbreaking and change the world in so many ways. But I think like the gag part is that you'll also be a little bit psycho and you'll just do these wild things that just don't make sense. And that is like that's what you ultimately have to deal with. You can't just be great at what you do and then there's no cost. The cost is really like your mental stability at the end of the day, especially at the Kanye level, you know? You can imagine.
He does talk about being a walking meal ticket, which I understand because in everywhere he goes, people just want to make money off of him. But I mean, it's just manic.
Sure.
I mean, he asked for this. Let's be honest. If you saw the 3-part documentary, then this is the life that he asked for. I mean, he's
How good
worked.
was that documentary though?
It was fantastic. It was really, really good. He's worked his whole life to get to this moment, and that lifestyle does come with a lot of stuff. So I guess he'll just have to deal with it, but he'll be fine. It's
And
Kanye.
especially dealing with a Kardashian as an ex. I can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
The
PTSD
pressure
of it all.
The PTSD.
Because the pressure keeps getting worse.
That's it.
It really does.
Yeah.
But guys, I want to tell you guys something that's been happening quite recently.
Mhm.
As you guys know, the new iPhones came out quite recently, which I am just on my knees and kissing the floor for at the moment.
Is it that
I
good?
need it. Yeah.
Really?
And the new iPhones, the new Apple Watches have a new feature called car crash detection, where the phone can actually detect a car crash.
Okay.
Very innovative stuff. Very
Mhm.
innovative stuff. And it's an awesome feature. You're in a car accident, the phone automatically calls emergency services, whether it is 911, 112, whatever it is in your country, the phone automatically calls those services. But recently, it's been reported that this feature is not working quite as planned. It seems to be overreacting in some cases. Car crash detection is calling American emergency services when users go on roller coaster rides.
Unbelievable.
So if you have the new Apple Watch, if you have the new iPhones, any of the new iPhones, and you're going on roller coasters, it is just calling emergency services because it is thinking accident at every single corner. It is thinking you're in the worst accident on earth, and emergency services are literally coming through to these theme parks.
Imagine.
And only finding out that, oh no, it's another iPhone 14 user. It's another new Apple Watch user. This is something that's been happening quite a lot. And it's mostly happening because the rides reach speeds of up to 85 kilometers per hour.
Damn.
And they stop quite hectically. They go fast hectically. It's all the G-force is acting on your body. And that's what's causing the phone to think that, oh, accident. So now this is happening all over the place. And we're still waiting for Apple to actually come back and be like, listen, guys, this is what we're going to do about this. This is how we're going to fix this. There's no solution at the moment. Hopefully there will be a solution.
But like what's interesting is like the technology. Like what is the technology, number one? Because if it's directly linked to, okay, the speed at which, you're currently moving is what will trigger the said new, thing, then they need to go back to the drawing board perhaps. Like firstly, I don't know if I would really trust that my iPhone is smart enough to, be responsible for that kind of thing. Like the concept is just a bit jarring to me. I think it's great. It's technology, yay. But like, what is the actual tech? And like, what is like the, the fine line with regards to how this thing works? And then, we can get to how we can curb this roller coaster ride thing. I mean, I can't imagine being at Gold Reef City, just like there, living my best life on the Anaconda, and then woo, 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 woo. I mean, also from the emergency services side, this is just like a whole lot of somebody's, playing wolf. The concept of like, oh no, we're actually okay, we don't need you. Eventually, when people keep getting these alerts from iPhones, it's going to be like, oh, the location is at Gold Reef City, another one. It's a bit, there needs to be like a nice balance between that kind of thing.
Also in South Africa, I don't know how it's going to work. Number one, if you call the police line, the ride will be over by the time you're done.
As well.
By the time you get through. And then secondly, if you are going to leave your phone off the roller coaster, who are you going to trust your phone with?
Yeah,
this is a serious problem.
Yeah, no, definitely it is. It definitely is.
I also found out another problem with these iPhones lately because my uncle's actually on a pacemaker, and he's very like 90% reliant on it.
Yeah.
And his heart doctor said from the iPhone 12 up, he cannot have that phone or the watch because it's got the magnetic charge at the back.
Hey, bo.
And it will throw the pacemaker off its rhythm.
No.
So basically, a new iPhone could kill your uncle.
Yeah, he said if he puts it in the pocket here by the heart, it will throw the pacemaker off and he could die. So they said he's not allowed to get any iPhone from the iPhone 12 and up because of that MagSafe charge. which is crazy to me because they don't tell you about that.
No, they definitely won't. That is not something you'll know, because if you know that, you're not going to support them and continue to buy into, their brand. That is extremely
Wild, right?
It's wild. It's sad because, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what is the reason? What if your uncle just generally wants an iPhone? I think it's pretty messy. But I've generally been getting over iPhones, like, as a concept. I won't lie. I'm just like at the point where I'm like, let me just try something new. I've been supporting iPhone for so many times. Like the past maybe how many years? Like 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 years. They've just been taking my money. I'm tired. And like I've lost so many of them. Every time my iPhone gets stolen somewhere, the people that steal my phone just tap into it like this. They empty out my bank account. They empty out all of it's so bad. They even go to my Uber Eats. They order foods for themselves. Guys, I'm not actually making a joke.
Are you serious about this?
I'm dead ass, bro. This
No,
is
bro.
literally what happens these days when they steal your iPhone. They log into your stuff. So they get past the Face ID. They get past the fingerprint, what.
How?
They get...
Yeah.
Dude, exactly. This is the question. How are these people doing this so easily? They go to your Uber. They order themselves things. They order themselves bottles. They order themselves cars to... It's always Commissioner Street in Joburg, by the way. They just empty you out. All your banking apps, everything gone. How am I safe? Literally, like, you're wiping out my whole life.
How many phones have you gotten stolen like this before?
Dude.
I feel like if you're partying in Melville and Long Street, I know.
What deserve a name?
So it's my fault. I shouldn't be out in my own country having a good time because of this thing. Guys, this thing has become so common and you'll see it now a lot. Like, don't say I didn't warn you. You're going to see it now a lot. People are going to be getting jacked. And not only are they going to be getting jacked, but they're going to be wiped out instantly. Where is the security on these iPhones? Where's our protection?
As far as I know, there is quite hectic security measures.
That's what I was.
It's trackable when it's off. The Face ID is pretty good. It's not like other phones where you can just use a picture of someone and the phone just unlocks. So
dude,
I'm very concerned here.
Yeah, it's not looking good for iPhone. I won't lie. It's really not, especially like in South Africa where so many people are just like grooving and having a good time. People get jacked all the time. There's like a syndicate of bouncers that are the ones that are part of people's phones getting jacked. It's a real thing, guys. Anyway, I'm pre-warning you, okay? Mm-hmm. You'll see maybe in like Jan how many people are going to come out and say, oh my word, they stole my iPhone. They emptied out my bank account. They did this, they did that. And when that happens, let us please come back to this episode and see what I said, because I'm telling you, I'm seeing what's happening and it ain't pretty
at all.
I see there's a commenter that says, please ask some Piwe, Lebang ain't wrong.
It's so lit. Yo, guys, it's really, really lit. Like, a lot of people are actually undergoing this thing as we speak. And the worst thing is that the banks aren't going to help you. They're just going to be like, oh, really? Yeah. This happened to you? And where were you? Oh, you were out. Sorry. There's nothing that they do to help you. So I just think like the best way to survive the festive season is just get like a little burner phone. Get a burner phone, just like move with that. And then like you'll see, just leave the iPhone at home, leave the smart one at home, let them steal the burner phone. But what's worse is that if they catch you with a burner phone, you get in trouble for not having a real phone. These people are ruthless. Like, they are just so mad.
And remember, boys and girls, if you're a 2 and a 10 comes at you, they just want your phone.
Oh man.
I don't know. I'm going to stick with the iPhone. I know Greg's been looking at this new Pixel that's coming out,
Oh yeah, for real?
Yeah.
You ordered it.
Oh, did you order it?
Wow.
Yes.
That's dope. Yeah, no, I think for me personally, I'm really starting to not support iPhone as much as I used to. I think let's get into some headlines. I mean, it is the right thing to do just so that we can know exactly what's going on in the world. I'll kickstart with South Africa apparently has a new fake meat braai record after the government tried to ban it. South Africa is just a world of wonder. Like, so many things happening all the time. So the South African government wanted to seize plant-based burgers, and in retaliation, a food awareness group cooked more than 1,200 plant patties on Heritage Day, breaking an unofficial world record for the largest vegan braai. Holy crap. So there's pretty much a war in South Africa over plant-based foods with meaty names. So products sold as vegetarian burgers, sausages, nuggets, mince, all of those should be outlawed according to the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development for using names prescribed for processed meat products. I mean, I can take that. And these are referred to as meat analogs, foods that are designed to mimic the appearance, flavor, and texture of meat products. So food awareness and vegan organizations like Pro-Veg South Africa have been especially critical for government's attempts to ban plant-based foods that are named after familiar meat products. I mean, let's get real. If you are just wanting to have a lekker braai with your people, you go to the store, you get yourself a nice, big, yummy wors, what, throw it on the braai, and then you bite into that thing and you realize, no, man, wait a minute, this isn't like giving me, this is tasting like mushroom mash, what, like what is actually happening? I would personally be upset. So I'm not really against what is happening here. I think it's quite interesting.
I mean, I have nothing against fake meat and fake all these processed vegan stuff. The only problem I have is the marketing.
Yeah.
Why market it as meat? Because in some instances, you have the fake nuggets and the real nuggets right next to each other.
Eish.
And they look so identical that you'll just take the fake ones.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not a thing of you're not reading. It's a thing of you're used to getting this.
Yeah.
And it's just muscle memory. You're like, oh, nugget. I see a nugget. I'm going to take a nugget.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell is inside that damn nugget. So that is the problem. And that is where the danger is, because these companies are not marketing these things as, listen, fake. This is what you're getting. You're getting a damn chickpea mushroom flavored nugget here.
Who heard Mash? Who fed him a chickpea and told him it was mince? Somebody is to blame. Look, I think you've got a point. It's just be clear about what it is. Don't just like be direct and honest with us. Be transparent. When you try and sort of, I like that you use the word fake so much. When you try make it like it's fake meat, it's not fake meat. It's just something completely different, which I will say is actually quite delicious. Like I found myself having a veggie burger by mistake. Hey, that thing goes up. Some of these things are actually nice. It's just that, like you're saying, muscle memory. Like we eat what we like, and I shouldn't be forced to eat a damn chickpea sausage at a braai because I'm being hoaxed into it. It has to be my personal choice, and that's that on that. Like why must I now feel the pressure? What else is happening in the news? I don't know if you guys want to hear about this, but possibly the DA is vowing to pressurize Ramaphosa to scrap free electricity and water for ministers. Now, this is interesting because will this really help?
First of all, ministers have free electricity and water.
Yeah,
that's
actually,
my
I
first
didn't
shock.
even know that.
Like, right? This is news as well. So the DA said on Monday that it'll be putting pressure on, obviously, our president to scrap the free electricity and water benefit for government ministers, officials, residences. It also wants the ministerial handbook, which makes provision for the ministers' perks like this one, to be done away with. I support this 100%. Yeah. So obviously, this comes after Ramaphosa secretly signed off on this provision in April, but which has only just come to light now. So this thing has been happening. Like it's been happening that they don't have to pay for water and electricity, and they sorted, but only now it's come out. Up until April, the state would only pay the water and electricity bills of the government ministers and their deputies living in official residences to a limit of $5,000 a month. So now the DA has now accidentally uncovered that this provision was already scrapped 6 months ago without informing Parliament. Yay, this guy is shady, bruh.
Hey, first of all, these ministers are living their life. Imagine earning a 6-figure salary per annum and not having to pay for anything. You don't pay for a car, you don't pay for a house, you don't pay for electricity. You're just living for free.
Dude.
You're just living for free.
I wonder if they get load shedding or if they're on some sort of special grid.
Definitely not. I can guarantee there's no such thing as load shedding if you are a minister. I feel like it just can't be a real thing. What do you think are the expenses? And I don't know, but if you're a minister, what's on your expense list? I mean, probably like water's not there, rent is not there. Clearly, like what are you paying for?
Just paying for Blessie's apartments, Blessie's cars, and Blessie's air travel. That is the only thing you pay for as a minister, it seems, in this country.
Honestly, this is just shocking. It's getting to a point where, like, you can't hide things. The things that are being done in the dark will almost always come to light. And even at this level, my question is, what are we going to do about it? Like the DA is speaking on it, which I think is great, but like speaking is one thing. What are they physically and actually going to do about this? I'm quite interested to see if anything can happen, because once you have a taste of the good life, and if you're a minister and you don't have to worry about water and electricity, dude, it's not going to be easy for you to just go back. The DA is going to be like, you have to pay your bills. The ministers aren't going to be like, okay, you caught us, we're busted.
Exactly.
We'll do it from now on. We're willing to do it. They're going to fight to not have to do that. While thousands and thousands of South Africans are literally just living in disarray. It's just nulls.
What is so sad about that is the fact that their bills compared to how much money they're making are so minuscule.
Bro.
Why do they have to live for free when they're earning so much?
Exactly. That's the wild thing. That's the wild thing. And if really we can say, so, in terms of your 9 to 5, how do you as a minister spend your day? And what exactly are you doing to make the country go forward? That they can't show you. They won't be able to show you or tell you or whatever, but some of them will be on Twitter, just, tra-la-la-la-lying, reacting to things that happen in society extremely late. Like, we're living in interesting times is what I'm realizing.
My whole thing is we used to have these family meetings quite regularly, right? Now, where's that gone? Well, where's the transparency we had before? Within the last 2 years, we had a family meeting every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would say, this is what we're rolling out, this is what we're doing. Now, I haven't heard from him in what? It's been almost a year.
Remember that the family meetings was just a reaction to COVID.
COVID, right?
Number one, it wasn't a thing that was generally happening. There's never been any transparency between the government and parliament and the ministers and us as the people. It's them and then it's us on the other side. So that was just, well, COVID is happening. I guess now we need to talk to the people. So that's where the update started, blah, blah, blah. And remember, these updates were also just it was pretty much just that, an update. It wasn't an open forum. It wasn't, hey guys, what are your thoughts? Hey, what can we all do collectively to make this better? It was, yo, you guys can't come out after 10. Peace out. Boom, gone. So generally, the family meetings were going to stop. We weren't going to keep getting updates, but when it's election time again, you'll see.
Yeah.
Remember, when it's campaign time, the energies are high. They've printed T-shirts. They're going to buy you groceries. They're going to do this. They're going to do that.
I saw them on Twitter, kissing nannies and things. I was like, hey.
Oh, yes. Kissing grannies.
Kissing grannies.
Yeah.
I won't lie. Our grannies are just embarrassing us. Oh, my word. When you, our grannies were clearly baddies in their days. Because when they see President Cyril Ramaphosa walking past them, they just switch up and they go, yeah, come here. And I was just like, this is how they are actually still in power. They
not
are
a hug, not a handshake. They're just so
not a
straight up.
Just a wet, sloppy kiss, smack bang on the lips. I was so embarrassed. And that's not even my granny. I was like, whoever's granny this is, yo, what a costa. Yo,
these grannies, yo.
These grannies are out here, hey. And Cyril's just enjoying it. He's like, this is my target market. I know if I can get all of them to vote for me, then I'm sorted. Yo.
One kiss at a time.
From kissing babies to kissing grannies, and I love to see it.
It's called politicking,
It's actually politicking 101, definitely. No, that's how they tug at the heartstrings of South Africans. Well, back in the day anyway. Mash, I saw that you wanted to talk about something which I relate with quite heavily. So when you're in your 20s, or let's say you're getting into your first working environment or whatever, you don't really know what to expect from the office environment. You're new there, you're excited. Oh, I'm finally going to be earning an income, blah, blah, growth, nya, nya, nya. And then you get into the office space and you're like, this is actually pretty lame. Why are these people like this? Why is the energy like this? It just it doesn't meet up, to your expectations. And then there's always office conflicts. You can't avoid it. You can't run away from it. I think most office spaces generally just have conflict.
Yes.
And the worst thing is you'll want to leave that workspace to go to another one, but you'll go to that other one and still find that very same thing. So what's happening, Mash? Who hurt you?
Hey, first of all, it's not me who's hurt, someone else is. And a friend of mine she's a lovely girl, works in government, and she comes to me. So we talk quite regularly, first of all. We talk about maybe once every 2 weeks. That's regular in this day and age, because we're so busy. We can't talk all the time. So every 2 weeks, we just catch up. We have a catch-up call. And she's like, listen, I had a fight at work, like an actual physical altercation.
What?
Fists were flying, slaps were flying.
Oh, so it actually got violent.
it got violent. And she's like,
Hey.
listen, it's been building up for quite some time. Me and this girl here at work, the tensions have been rising because she's always nitpicking at things I do. And she's always just, coming at me. Coming at me in a room. She'll always point me out and be like, hey, you, what did you do with this? What did you do with that? And she explains the whole story. And I'm like, wow, who started the fight? She's like, yeah, she did. And blah, blah, blah. She continues the story. And I'm like, yo, that is hectic.
Okay.
How the hell are you still, how is she still working there? How is that possible? She's like, because she's the director.
The fact that it's a physical altercation.
Yeah, that's not conflict. When you say office conflict, conflict is like your finger pointing or like, you holler at HR when like things get like hectic. But like this is a physical and violent
That's assault.
fight. This is assault. Somebody who was trying to hurt another person. That's not conflict, honey. That's something way different. So what happened? Like, did they holler at HR? Was it like WWE smack it down?
Yes. So first of all, because it isn't government, nobody was fired. So everybody still works there.
Mash is leaving out such crucial parts of the story. Like you should have led with the fact that they work in government.
Yes, they work in government. And my friend, the woman she fought with, is a director. She's a director there, Department of what was. I'm not going to mention because they'll know exactly. I'm sure they'll know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And they had this hectic fight and it's been building up for months. The tension, the animosity has been building up. And eventually it was just like, you know what? Someone flew across the table and attacked the other. And they just threw punches
flew
and slapped
across
at
the
each
table.
other. Yes.
Mash.
My friend's like, listen, the director just got a warning. I walked away scot-free and we just kept it moving.
Well, look, if you want to keep your job, some things, you're going to have to just keep it moving. I mean, it's unfortunate. It should have been handled in the right manner. But this is just bizarre, dude. What?
Crazy.
I see Sanela's in the comments. He's asking who won.
Sanele, it is not a WWE match, but my friend did win. At the end of the day, my friend did win because she got an apology from the director. That, listen, I'm sorry for throwing punches at you. I'm sorry for flying across the table at you.
What?
And I hope we can fix this. Maybe a bonus nyana, a 14th check perhaps will fix this.
No, that just sounds like a very toxic environment. I think like somebody has to leave, like for their own mental health condition. Someone's going to end up having to leave that work environment. It's not going to end well. If people are already flying across tables, dude, come on. How's it going to be when it's even more tense? Because clearly they're not solving this. Has anybody gone to therapy? Has the company, sat them down and organized and, tried to discover and unpack how they got to the point where somebody is flying across a table? Like, this is not normal in a workspace.
It is not normal.
Maybe at a tavern.
Is it normal in government?
In government, it might be.
It might be. Clearly, there's something that we don't know that's going on there. So some really good news today. Beyond Madness is back. It is returning today. And this week, Professor Christopher Szabo takes a look at traditional healers and healthcare. Now, this is going to be interesting. So we find out who they are, what they do, and exactly how they're involved in the lives of many South Africans, as healers outside of the formal medical setting. And pretty much to dissect this, he is joined by Professor Soli Ratamane and Dr. Lerato Dikobekalane. So I think it's going to be dope. Make sure that you listen to it live on Cliff Central today at 10 a.m. Or you can get the podcast wherever you listen, whenever you choose to listen. That is, of course, Beyond Manners in proud association with Adcock Ingram, OTC, sponsors of Brave. So that's actually something I've always really wondered about. Like we have, the medical practitioners in the, and I'm going to say inverted commas, in a formal setting with, the white what, and the uniform and the what, and they've studied for 7 years. And then you have the traditional healing side of life, which is such a crucial part of, of the world. I want to specifically say of South African lifestyle and of even African lifestyle, even globally. It's such a big part of it. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation today, 10 a.m. Make sure you don't forget it. And I think later on today, we're also going to be chatting to Yaku from Catalytic. And Yaku's always a good time. Yaku's always a good time, man. He's the vibe. He's the host of Unbundled. And when I started listening to Unbundled, I was just getting all these nuggets where I'm like, oh, actually, yeah. Like things just start to make sense. And you start putting 2 and 2 together. And you're like, this is how things actually go. Yaku, good morning. How you doing? Welcome to the show. As you can see, it's me and the boys today.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, sorry, I was maybe 1 or 2 minutes late. I passed out when I heard you going, Marcus Jooste on us.
Whoa, too soon, Yako, too soon. Let's get straight into it. So cybersecurity, a lot is happening right now in South Africa. It seems like data is being stolen. The Everest gang is demanding $200,000 for data stolen from South African state-owned electricity company Eskom. Whoa, what is happening, Yaku? Give us the 411.
Just explain quickly what I was saying earlier is, you know, when you spoke about the burner phone and you're not trusting iPhone anymore, it's actually related to the same topic. So that's why I was saying apparently Marcus Jooste, he just operated with a burner phone, like a Nokia 3310 or something like that. You know, so like if you go to Waterfall Corner and you see a guy with two cell phones, then you know it's a serious dude. If you see a guy walking around with 3 cell phones, then you know he's making deals. If he's walking around with a burner, you turn around and you walk away because you know you're not in good company. So, but yeah, look, it's actually interesting. So in my podcast today, we're talking about this, and I was giving it quite a bit of thought. You know, for many years, there's been this saying that data is the new gold, and information is where all the money is. And actually, you know, even if we take it back to your iPhone comment where you go, my whole life, all of my data is on this device, and if I lose it, what is the risk to me? I don't want to say I'm happy that that's happened to you, but I'm happy that people are starting to realize that you know, your data is so important. It's as important as that you know, metal door that you have at the front of your house, or the alarm that you put on in the evening. You know, you've got to look after your data and respect it, because even little Yaku in Midrand or whatever, you know, I might say, you know, in the bigger scheme of things in the world, what's my data worth? But you know, there's money to be made, and money is a big thing. So the interesting term that we're discussing today is data extortion. So if you're a business, like what you were talking about now, you have data. Obviously, the bigger the business, the bigger the target you will be. And there's in different means and ways of extracting money out of said organization. So I can say to them, listen, I have a copy of your data, and if you don't pay me, I'm going to release it. And there's obviously reputational damage. In this case that you're talking about, if you read the article, you'll see Eskom went back to them and said, well, we don't believe that we had a data breach, so have at it, you know, so you can call their bluff. There's other ways in where you have something like ransomware, where those said people can then say, right, I'll call your bluff back, and I'm going to lock your data so you can't access it. And that's obviously then got implications on the business. For example, you can't bill at the end of the month. You don't know who your customers are. You can't access the data. And then there's also a term called data exfiltration, where they just slowly on an ongoing basis, they're just taking data out of your organization, and they might be selling it off or anything like that. So data is literally the new gold, you know, and you know, you know, if any of us, I don't think any of us do, but if any of us had a Kruger Rand in our house, you're not going to leave it on the kitchen table.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely.
And then Yaku, is data extortion similar to those emails you get where it says, listen, we've been watching you for quite some time. We've been recording you through your webcam. We've seen what you were doing. You've seen what you were doing while watching certain things. And we're going to be leaking this information along with all your other personal information on your computer. And you have to pay us for us not to leak this information. Is that what data extortion is?
It can be, I think at a personal level, it can be that. So I was just thinking also when Lebang was talking about iPhone earlier, one of the concepts I learned early in my life in the IT industry, and we can't say it too loudly because, you know, but there's a problem called a picnic problem. So it says the problem is in chair, not in computer. And the biggest problem that we have is us, you know. So I was actually thinking about it now. How often do you change your passwords? Do you, when you log on to a site, do you save that password to iCloud or you know, the browser, Safari or Firefox or Google Chrome will say, do you want me to save the password? You know, so like, how often do you go and change that? And we're all guilty of it, you know, like if you just think about it, the password that you log onto the bank, which is probably one of the most important passwords that you have, how often do you change it? Because it's inconvenient, you know, but it's a discipline thing. And 100% in the business world, the extortion will be, you know, I've got a copy of your customer list and I'm going to leak it, and you know, it's going to cause reputational damage. At a personal level, Mesh, like you say now, obviously, you know, if they collected some of your personal data, obviously, you know, as a brand or you know, personal brand or whatever you might say, I don't want that to happen because there might be reputational damage to me. So, definitely so. Ryan, why are you laughing?
Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Congo Chris is commenting on MASH.
What's Congo Chris saying?
He says, MASH posts pictures of his pick on OnlyFans and I was worried about Pornhub.
Ah, hectic.
I don't know why they're doing you like that, MASH.
Gee,
But
so
it's
Jaco,
copyright, you know, I mean,
I'm selling that. That I'm selling.
Exactly that.
Yes.
You don't want to give it out for free.
Absolutely.
hectic. So what's the solution for Eskom? Or is that what we're gonna find out in the show today? I mean, this is like scary stuff to know that they are at such high risk of all this information just, you know, being exposed, and ultimately, like, we're not being protected. The data's not protected, it seems. Like, it's just as we go by, it's just easier and easier for these cyber attacks to occur. So what's gonna happen? Like, what's gonna be the outcome for Eskom?
I think that Eskom thing that was earlier in the year, it's already I think been dealt with and died down. So like I say, you know, sometimes what happens is people will just call your bluff and say, listen, I have your data, you better pay me, you know. Sometimes it's just a hoax, you know, and they try, you know, maybe if your monitoring systems aren't good and you don't know if your data was leaked or not, you know, you might fall for it and say, okay, right, let me pay you, and then at the end of the day, they didn't have anything. So the answer, specifically in the business world, is and this is exactly what we're talking about today. Is you've got to get in front of it, you know. So and it's a moving target. I don't think, you know, it's the same as the security at your house. You can't put up a security door and say, okay, right now it's fine, because then tomorrow they find a way to climb through the window or through the roof or whatever. So you know, it's an ever moving target, and the key for me is to have visibility and understand what your data is doing. And then there's also what's interesting, you know, we also always have this concept of, you know, it's outside of people. You know, it might be it's this bad guy that's sitting in, I don't know, China or Russia or whatever. They're just trying to this scaly looking guy on the dark web that's trying to steal my data. But there's also a concept of insider threats, you know. So you might have aggrieved people inside the organization that's actually, you know, compromising your data integrity. So there's this concept of zero trust, where you basically have to create an environment where you literally just don't trust anybody, regardless if they work inside the organization or outside the organization. But people are 99.99% of the problem. It's people. The system is only as good as the people that's always, you know, sits within it.
Always. We've got a question from Congo Chris. I think we can take this one quickly. Congo Chris is saying, Jaco, what's your thoughts on VPN security programs?
That's also almost as how long as a piece of string, but let me put it to you like this. So obviously, as a starting point for any organization, if you okay, so I see that he's talking about NordVPN. I'll get to that now. In a business environment, if you're and the last 2 years have exposed that you know, business quite a bit. If you have workers or employees or team members accessing your data from home or from outside on the internet or whatever, you've got to try and make it as secure as possible and lock it down as hard as possible. So it's definitely not bulletproof, but as a basic, any organization should deploy some form of VPN technology in order to secure the access into their data. That applications like what Chris is talking about, there's various ones of those in a personal capacity. People can use that to hide where they're coming from. So, for example, you might want to watch Netflix with a US-based IP or whatever, and something like NordVPN or one of those will give you that ability to hide where you're coming from. So, if you look at I think to answer Chris's question, best practice advice is if you're using public Wi-Fi, like at an airport or anything like that, the more you use VPN technologies like NordVPN or whatever, that's advisable. So the more you can protect where you're coming from and who you are on the internet, the better. Password managers, password managers, I've got a different view on. I mean, there are obviously lots of those as well. But me, I'm old school. I write my passwords in a bookie, and then I keep it with me. And if I lose that bookie, then I change it. It's just one of those things. So there, I'm a bit more old school. I don't like passwords. You shouldn't save on the internet. Is my personal opinion.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Yaku. That's Yaku Voigt from Catalytic. He's the host of Unbundled. So we'll see you at around 9, or rather we'll hear you, and we'll get more information about all about that. And I think I'm quite looking forward to it because, I mean, the password one, we are all guilty of that one. So that will be Unbundled today at 9 a.m. It is the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. I think let's take a bit of a break. Go get some coffee, go grab some tea, go get some energy drinks, do your thing, and we'll be back in a jiffy.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Yaku Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Yaku decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back to the show. I hope you've had something for you to sip on before we left for the break. Mash is like, yo, I need some tea. Yo, he's come back into the office and there's something in his cup, but it doesn't look like tea. I'm a bit sus. Mash, what are you drinking?
It is something that's gonna keep me going throughout the day. Something that keeps me going every day. So
which energy drink is it, Mash?
Which is water.
Oh, what a downer. As you know, like, subscribe, air fryer, all the good things. Ryan, what are the numbers looking like? I feel like we're doing pretty good.
We're doing pretty good today, I think. I don't know how many views we've had. Quite a few views today, even yesterday. It's been nothing but positive with Gareth being away.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy and I'm glad everyone's still listening.
That's good. Because usually like when Gareth is gone, like everyone's like, okay, peace. We're going with him. Like
it's panic.
We're also out. But speaking of Gareth, I think it's only fair just to get an update on what the vibes are like, where he's at, just to hear how it's going. So yeah, let's tap into what Gareth is currently going through.
Right. Day 2 in Istanbul and about 12 kilometers of ground covered. Some incredible sightseeing. I had a private guide called Selma who was amazing. And she took us first to the underground cistern, which doesn't sound very exciting, but it's absolutely spellbindingly beautiful. It's where they stored all the water in the early days of Byzantium and then later Rome. It was built by Justinian, the great emperor who was in charge here at the time, and whose wife Theodora I'll tell you about some other time, but she was very famous and very, very important. Also got to see how Turkish carpets were made, which is absolutely amazing. Saw a guy at a wheel actually binding the silk together from silkworm cocoons, which is something I've never seen before, and a big sort of vat of hot water that he uses to start to loosen up the glue, and then makes these carpets. And then we went over to the weavers, who are usually women from all kinds of communities across Turkey, but most especially from Mesopotamia. And they make these extraordinary silk and wool carpets, the ones that you've probably seen a million times, but you only realize when you actually see them making them, how incredible they are. After that, went off to the Grand Bazaar, which is, it's the largest covered marketplace in the world. And you have avenues and avenues and avenues inside of this building of just everything you could imagine buying: tiles, towels, lamps, all kinds of fabrics and crafts and metalwork and silver and gold and hats and everything. It's too much to bear. You eventually just overwhelmed, but really is worth seeing. And I'll probably have to go back there once I've caught my breath, but also the kind of place where if you like fake bags or fake branded clothes, you can satisfy yourself to your heart's content. And probably in South Africa, they wouldn't know the difference. There are also some more Roman ruins at the Hippodrome we got to see, including some underground stuff, which if we didn't have our guide with us, I wouldn't have even known about, because she took us to this underground museum, which sort of explained the very ancient history of Constantinople, which I wouldn't otherwise have known about. We also went to the Blue Mosque, which was very special because while they were doing the azan, the prayer call from the one, then that guy at the Blue Mosque stops, lets the guy at the Hagia Sophia carry on. Then he takes over afterwards. So they kind of go in almost a duet, which I didn't know before. And then went to this rooftop of a well-known hotel here to see the Seven Hills, on which the Romans founded Constantinople. From there, went to the Topkapi Palace, which is really all about the Ottoman emperors, the sultans, and this incredible lifestyle they led, which involved harems of women, divided roughly into 4 classes. There were wives, then there were the favorites, then there were a bunch of other potential concubines who were desperately vying for position, and then your women at the bottom who'd just been spotted once or twice by the Sultan, and any favor he showed them would get them elevated to a new class. And really, the life these guys lived must have been incredible. The kitchens alone are enormous. And then there are these 4 courtyards, the last 2 which were reserved just for the Sultan and his sons. And amazing, beautifully decorated with mosaic tiles and painted tiles. There are, lots of ceremonial rooms and thrones and that kind of thing. And if you think this is how these people lived in, the 1600s, you have to try and imagine what life would have been like for the ordinary people in Istanbul if these are the people in the palace. So loads of things to report back on, but another busy day and another busy day ahead tomorrow.
Jeez Louise. That was a lot to take in. Oh, okay. Like, one thing I am glad about is Gareth is clearly in his element.
Oh,
if there's
loving it.
one
He's
person
loving it.
who is just a sucker for history and for how things used to be, it is that man. So he's having like the time of his life. But also that voice note was a lot.
Guys, it's a podcast.
Yo.
It's literally a podcast.
Like, I'm thinking, this is going to be a nice quick summary. Day 2, we did this. Ooh, no. Mpihleng Makhoro's even saying, Gareth sending long voice notes. Isn't he the head principal of WhatsApp rules and regulations? Or it's only bad when we do it? I also want to know because he's always on our cases about, don't send long
Keep it
voice
to the
notes.
point.
Get straight to the point. Yeah. That was a long,
No,
that was a long, like, summary of what he's experiencing. But clearly, all it shows that he's having a good time.
he's having a great
And
time.
it sounds amazing. Sounds absolutely spectacular.
Hey, he had me at the Persian carpets. He
Hey,
saw
yeah.
how they were getting made, the weave and the wool and the woman and the what. I was
He
like,
had me by the fake bags.
of course he did.
And the
That's
food
it.
yesterday. Did you see the food video that we played yesterday, Lebang? I don't know if you saw it.
I
Oh,
saw.
it's
He's
crazy.
living his best life. So hopefully the real BBL update will get like maybe tomorrow or the next day. But either way, it's all very exciting. He will be back. When is he actually coming back, Ryan? Do you know?
I think Monday he'll be back.
So
I
nice.
think it's Monday.
It's a
Yeah.
Monday. That's dope. That means
Mm.
we still have the whole week to sit and chill and hang out, which is super exciting. But yeah, that is Gareth. So if you want to know more about what he's up to, I know for sure his Instagram is probably on fire with like just updates, pictures, videos, all of that jazz. So make sure that you keep your eye out on his page. I saw earlier on Congo Chris was asking how to clean an air fryer. Now, the information I'm about to share with you is a golden nugget. It is literally like, write this down. Get your pen and your paper ready. This is some prime information. So when you're finished cooking in your air fryer and you've done your thing and everything is juicy and everything is like ready to be eaten, what you do is you pour like a little bit of boiling water right back into the air fryer and a little bit of soap right back into the air fryer. Turn that baby on for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes at the most. It's pretty much gonna like clean itself. It'll be
Is it that
boiling.
effective?
Dude.
Because I didn't think it was going to be that effective. I tried it, but maybe. Do you put soap in it?
Yes, I just said put
Oh.
water and so. Also, you've
I
just been
missed the
putting
soap.
water.
I've been putting-
Trust Ryan. Trust the white boy to just put water and then just that must work.
Hey.
Bro, put soap in there too, man. Let that thing cook in the, in the soap and the water and then take it out. And literally, if you're like feeling a bit lazy, just take like a paper towel and just like wipe it. Everything will come off. I promise you. Alternatively, you can, really put your elbow in the grease, take that thing apart, put it in the warm water and soap again, and just pour my skirpot, pour my sponge, even a cloth, do your thing. But just try the water and the soap inside the air fryer first.
Can you use a skirpot?
You can use a skirpot on anything. Like, I feel like skirpot is one of those, it's like the green sunlight bar soap, multi-purpose. You can use it on any and everything. Just try it and then you'll give me feedback.
All right. I'm going to give
Yeah.
it a try.
Litlotlo is saying in the comments, Lebang, so I got an air fryer over the weekend and I keep referring to it as a like and subscribe. And only one of my friends gets it. I need new friends. Hey man, I think that's an interesting thing. We need to do like a meet and greet of the whole community. Like, if you're an avid listener of Cliff Central, then let's have like these like moments where we all like get together and just like meet in real life and actually have conversations about air fryers,
We
because
come with our air fryer.
like let's like exchange recipes and stuff. MM is also giving us some nice advice in the comments section saying use waxed paper. You won't need to clean the air fryer. That is
Mhm.
also another idea. Wax paper, I think, is that brown sticky
Yes.
what.
So
put it in first and then you cook on top of that.
Yes, I started using wax paper and it has changed my life. In the
Mm.
oven, chicken, whatever you put in the oven, whatever you put in the air fryer,
Mm.
just wax paper
Wax
that
paper,
baby up and you will never have to clean again. When you're done, paper towel, wipe,
Throw it
done.
away. But the idea of never having to clean my kitchen appliance again doesn't actually sit well with me. I feel like I want to clean my kitchen appliance. Like, can I please clean it? Why must it not be clean?
Why do these fries taste like chicken?
You
Basically,
see
is
what
you're
I
saying.
mean? You see what it can get very tricky. I think just the concept of cleaning your things is it's a vital one, because I mean, especially in the kitchen. The kitchen is the place that all sorts of things are happening in the household all the time. Things are being done. People are moving up and down. The cooking is occurring. What. It gets filthy. So even if you are going to use the wax paper, I think you should generally just try and like clean your appliances either way. Chris is saying, sounds like too much effort. I'll just throw it away and buy a new one once a fortnight. Well, there you have it.
You have a sponsor, sure.
Congo Chris has just shared some vital information as to how he goes about his life. Just throw things away and just get a new one. It must be so nice. K&A in the comments is also saying something interesting, saying, guys, you cannot clean anything in your kitchen effectively if you don't put it in the dishwasher. Warm water and dish soap is a breeding ground for germs. So if you can afford a dishwasher, let's start there. Let's go to the beginning. First, you need money to afford a dishwasher so you can, use it. And then other than that, I'm not against, the water and soap thing. We're trying.
I do understand what K&A means, because to actually effectively clean your dishes, you need a certain temperature, which is too high to wash it with your hands, because it'll burn your hands off. So it does make sense, but a whole nother appliance just for one task doesn't make sense for most people.
Look, I'll be honest. I grew up in a household where there was actually a dishwasher, right? But my dad would still make me wash the dishes like in the actual like sink. And I remember this one time I even got into trouble. He was like, Lebang, why aren't you washing the dishes? Like, he woke me up at 5 a.m. on New Year's Day, me and my cousins, classic black man. Wake up, girls, go to the kitchen and clean. I'm like, okay, cool. So we clean, we mop, we do the whole design. And obviously we're leaving the dishes because there's a dishwasher. He's like, why don't you do the dishes? I'm like, because Dad, you bought a dishwasher. Oh man, I got into so much trouble. Oh my days. He was not impressed with me. He was like, you better go do those dishes right now. So I've generally like just been put off the idea of a dishwasher as a concept. Like, if you don't use it regularly, you don't know how to clean the actual dishwasher itself and maintain it. And if you stop buying the soaps for it and it just seems like a little bit too much admin, So, hey man, just get some water, get some soap, say green sunlight bar soap, and just wash your dishes and go about your merry way.
Congo Chris says, you see, Lebang is breeding bacteria in her air fryer.
I know. Chris, how about you buy me a new one? Every time you get yourself a new one, just say +1 for me, and then we can just call it a day. Bob will be our uncle. But hey, to each their own, man. As long as you're keeping your house and your appliances and your things clean, I think it is what it is. Keep it moving.
And I mean, in a country where we don't have electricity half the day,
dude, I was gonna say, like, the only people that like are living like that are ministers, surely, where like they can have all these things just running, because it's not like they're paying for them anyway.
Steve E says in the comments, no, first you need water and electricity. Yeah, because now we also have water shortages, which is great.
Dude, it's such a wild concept. Like, what is actually going on? I'm just starting to feel like we're literally in like a game of like The Sims, where they control when you wash, when you eat, when you live. It's crazy. Like, this Banana Republic is banana-ring hard right now. A lot is happening. Like, I just can't keep up. And I'm lucky enough to live in a place where there's like a borehole. So I'm like, okay, cool. If the municipality water switches off, I just like go pip, and then at least. But like, I'm like, what, like 10% of the country? Like, I don't even count. There's real people living real lives who are just like, crap, they screwed. Like, now what? They have to wait. So it really is one of those things.
Situation.
It is a whole situation. But which one do you think is worse? Like, would you rather have no water or no electricity? And I know we've had this conversation before, but I feel like we keep changing our answers because like we keep going through different phases of life. They both such necessities, but yay. One must go. Which one would you prefer to
So
go?
you see, my problem is in my area, and I think I said this yesterday, was when my power goes out, my water goes because the pumps lose power. So as soon as the power's out, we have water for like an hour, and then that's when it runs out, and then we have to wait for the power to come back on. An hour after that, all the water circulates, gets the air out the taps, and geysers blow. Like, you know, it's a problem.
Mash?
Yes, I recall we did discuss this yesterday, and the consensus was rather have no electricity because in terms of water, you can't flush your toilet, and that is a vital function.
Matey.
Vital function. You don't want your house stinking up, but then you have Netflix streaming in the lounge. Doesn't make
That sounds
sense.
like a bit of a stanky situation. No, water is definitely vital. No, it's definitely vital. But I mean, we're living in those times now where it's like, you know, something's always going to be down and something's always going to be gone. And you just have to figure out, like, have a plan. Whether it's just having water stored in big buckets in like 10-liter waters, I don't know, just make a plan. But it's like every man for himself. Letuko on the comments is saying, save water, shower with your neighbors. Ooh, lead by example, honey. Teach us.
That is very important.
This is kind of like that point you made, Mash, with the Netflix thing. Save electricity.
Yes. So for those who don't know what Ryan's talking about, I did make a TikTok saying that, listen, guys, I finally found the solution to ending load shedding. And that is, listen, instead of watching Netflix alone, go watch someone. Go watch with someone else. Because now instead of 2 TVs being on, there's just 1 TV on.
Yeah.
And so forth and so on. So maybe 3 people come watch together. Instead of 3 TVs being on in 3 separate households, 1 TV is on. And then y'all can just add some extra activity.
Who's paying for the Netflix?
Yeah, I was about to say, how do we decide whose house we go to? Number 1. Number 2, how am I getting to this person's house? Must I get in my car and must I drive there? Or am I going to the person that lives right next door? I'm walking. Number 3, how do I avoid the unnecessary small talk? What if I just don't like this person? Do I know this person? Number 4, who gets to decide what we watch? What if we have different tastes? Dude, I want to watch my Netflix by myself. It's too much of like a personal activity to just be like, well, because we want to save electricity, it's group effort. No, not going to happen, Mash. Back to the drawing board. I'm open to your suggestions though, but this one, just sounds like it's a little bit more effort. Like, do you know what I mean? Unless it's just like you and your friends, like you're going to do like weekly watch parties and then like you guys rotate at each other's houses and blah, 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 then for sure, like, do your thing. But
especially with the shows that you guys are all watching at the same time. Like, if everybody's watching Dharma at the moment, or if everybody's watching some other show at the moment, or Rings of Power, we all come together and we watch it once a week.
I can't believe Dharma's still number 1. It's been like
I'm not
a
watching
week and a
it,
half
hey.
or 2 weeks.
I'm
not
watching
watching
crazy.
So I'm a true crime fundi, and I've always known this story for years.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm scared to meet people at night. In fact, I'm afraid to even meet strangers, period. For me to actually meet you, you have to chat for at least a month. Just chatting and video calling and calling.
Yeah.
And then when we meet, public place, restaurant, and so forth. So I've been watching the show. It's quite accurate in terms of the storytelling. And it is just so terrifying how back then people were so loosey-goosey. People were just like, yeah, I want to leave. I'm going to a concert. I don't even know you, but I'm going to get into your car and I'm going to go home with you for a drink.
Yeah.
I don't know you. And these are things that are happening back then.
It's crazy.
Times have changed.
Have you finished it?
Have they changed though? I feel like that's still happening now more than ever. People are definitely still.
And
like,
now we have Ubers.
It's worse.
Now we have Ubers. You just get into strangers' cars and get dropped off somewhere.
You get dropped off somewhere. I mean, we see people's lives online. You think you know them personally, so you drop your card even easier. I think it's probably even worse now. But back to the actual story itself. I mean, weren't the family members of the victims against people watching it? Like, why are people still watching this? The victims of the family members of the victims of this whole story were like, guys, this whole thing is triggering. Netflix can't just make a movie out of our trauma and just, keep it moving. Like,
but these are stories that need to be told. People need to know these stories. And it's already out
shocking.
in the public.
Yeah, it's shocking how many people actually don't know these stories.
I was shocked people don't know this story.
Because I've known about it. Yeah. We've known about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the younger kids now on TikTok are like watching it, and now all of a sudden it's a big thing. There's a lot of songs that had Jeffrey Dahmer's name in it. I don't know if you saw those controversies come up, and now people are getting mad. And it's like, but how were you not educated on this before?
Like, what I'm saying is, like, the family members, guys, for them this is traumatic.
Oh, very.
Like, they are not comfortable with the whole world. Just like, oh, this is so wild. For you, it's a movie. For them, it's real life. So I'm just asking, like, how would you feel if, like, you're just trollalalaing one day and then Kloops put on Netflix and now you're triggered by something that, you know, you healed from years and years ago. It's almost as though Netflix didn't, you know, let the families know. And I don't know if maybe they're responsible for that, or if it even concerns the families. But this is why I'm asking, like, should Netflix be like, hey, families, we're putting together this documentary, FYI, prepare yourself, you know, or is it just a thing where it's like, yeah, you know, the stories need to be told, blah, 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 blah. It's a very, like, gray area-ish place. But I mean, Netflix is a business. They're not in the business of, like, you know, taking care of people's emotions. They just, like, out here to make money. But I don't know. It's just starting to come across as a little bit insensitive. At least just send them a freaking SMS. Like, yo, dog, just so you know, you might get triggered. Put a disclaimer or something. But the fact that these families only found out after the fact, they're very livid, and I don't blame them, because for them it's a sad thing.
I do agree that the families did need to get notified about the series being produced. But I also do think at the same time that these are stories that need to be told. In this generation, in this era rather, these younger generations as well, they need to hear these stories. They need to be exposed to listen. This is how things were. This is what was happening. Because there's a show I saw quite recently on YouTube where it's basically a catfish show where parents bring their kids because they're like, listen, our daughter or our son is a bit loosey-goosey. They're meeting strangers. We don't like that.
You've said this 3 times today, and I'm just like, loosey-goosey.
They're just walking around. They're meeting strangers. We went through their phone. They're busy planning to meet grown-ass men at parks and stuff like that. This is not right. And what they do on this show is they actually catfish your son or your daughter and basically tell them, listen, let's meet up. They'll create some strange little profile. The people from this show, it's basically a catfish sort of show. I don't know if it's on MTV or where it is exactly, but they create fake profiles, catfish your son or your daughter, and go like, listen, let's meet up. Your son and daughter go there, meet up with this person, and then
the parents come out,
kidnap them. They kidnap your son or daughter, and then they take them to some location, and then they open the door, and there's the parents. And they're like, you see what would have happened to you? Because you don't listen. You don't listen. And that's exactly the kind of stories that kids these days need to be exposed to. They need to know these stories because we don't want situations where kids are just being kidnapped. Or
look, I don't know. I think, like, if your child is online and they're meeting up with, like, random people, I think there's a bit of responsibility you need to take as the parent, because that just shows that there's, like, some recklessness that you weren't curbing prior to that. It's not the world's fault. We can't always be like, well, if the world, the world, you can't do anything about that. But what you can control is, like, for instance, how much time you're letting your child even consume this content, how much of, the access your child has. If you are leaving your child to their own, lives and to do their own thing, and then you get surprised that, oh no, my child is meeting up with random people in the park, ask yourself what part you played in your child getting to that point as the parent. You can't wait for a show to come up where you call them and say, hey, catfish, what, I need your help because my children are wiling. You as the parent are wiling because you're not doing enough to manage what your child is doing online. And the fact that you're going through your child's phone is already like a big red flag. You clearly don't trust your child, number one, and there's no open communication between you and your kid. I mean, I think go back to the drawing board with regards to parenting. Faking a kidnapping for your child, I'm not sure how that will work out for the actual child in terms of, like, trauma, and I don't know if that's going to stop them. I don't know if that's going to make them say, okay, well, now let me stop trying to meet up with people I don't know at parks, because obviously now they're like, oh, my parents were pranking me, I'll just do it again. It just sounds a bit wild to me. But please find the name of that show. I would like to see it so I can check it out. An interesting show that I heard about in my 15-hour drive back from Cape Town to Johannesburg yesterday was a show about like some prison vibe. So what they do is they pretty much take ex-cons, right, and they plant them back into the prison system, okay? And they put hidden cameras, and they basically are doing this so that the people inside the prison can not really be exposed, but they're trying to improve the prison. So if they have someone on the inside, like a spy who's working in there, then that person can obviously, like, you know, give them feedback and say, oh no, this is the person who's selling this is the person that's doing that, so this is how you met. And that to me sounded ridiculously interesting, because a lot of the people don't survive.
That's
because
what I was gonna say.
you're playing with life. You get in there, and you know, because you're an ex-con, one would assume that you've been there before, so you'll be able to manage. Whereas what usually happens is once they get in there, they just start to suffer. Like they just like they want to get out, because you're back in the system that you ultimately are no longer a part of. Whereas on the flip side, some people get in there and they love it. Apparently, they're just like in their element and they're just really enjoying themselves.
Do the wardens know about these inmates?
The wardens know. A lot of the people that don't know are the actual cops, because remember that
prison guards.
The prison guards are also sometimes in on this whole thing. They're the ones that are
in on it as well.
No. They're the ones that are helping the prisoners move some of these things and move the drugs and operate the what. So the only people that know is like literally the warden and that person that is in there. Like that is
so they actually
undercover.
get the full, like, proper treatment.
Dude, it's so hectic. I need to find
Netflix?
that show. I don't know what the name of the show is. A friend of mine was just telling me, and he was like, he'll get me the name, because I was like, this is so interesting. That's the kind of show that I'd like to watch and just see, like, oh, what's actually going on in there. Like, if I was thrown in jail, like, dude, I would not last 2 minutes, even if it was just under carpet, even if it was just like, you know.
Have you been to prison before?
I mean, like it's still early in the morning, right? It's not even 8 o'clock. I think let's just take it 1 hour at a time. I mean, look.
I had to go there for a school trip once, and I was scarred for life.
Really?
I went to Leoco prison, yeah.
And what are some of the things you've seen?
So they took us through the younger, what's the younger prison called?
Juvie.
So we went through Juvie. And those guys are pretty scary. We actually had to get out early because they said it's just they don't feel like it's safe, whatever. And then we went to the high security one, and so obviously these the prisoners are trying to like get out on good behavior or whatever. So we have like a prisoner taking us around and explaining to us what he did, and then we have like the arts department where they put on plays for us in their little halls and things. And then we actually went into like one or two of the cells. I think it was like. It was a controlled thing, but I did not like the vibe of just being there. I didn't want to actually go, but it was compulsory.
It doesn't sound like it's a vibe at all, to be honest. Congo Chris is saying the name of the show, it's called 60 Days Inside. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. That's the one, 60 Days Inside. Apparently the guards are actually aware that, this person's also, it's basically like Undercover Boss. Remember Undercover Boss?
Yes.
Yo, that thing was wild. That thing was wild. So it's pretty much that, but like just in prison. So, do your thing. And then I'm going to check it out.
The name of the show I talked about a bit earlier is called I Catfished My Kid.
Ooh, okay. Parents, come on, guys.
Batswadi.
Let's do better. Like your child will actually hate you. Like that's just not something you come back from, like with a bowl of ice cream. Your child will be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, sit down and have a conversation with me. But also it's easier said than done. Once your kids actually start doing those things and you actually get there, that's when you're like, yo.
Can you have a conversation with them?
Like, can I have a conversation with the child? Will they even listen to me? Like, it's crazy. All right, guys, some exciting news. Life with Lebang is back as well. Like it's things are just happening. The world's opening up. We're back in the game. So tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is going to be episode 1 of season 2 of Life with Lebang. Very, very excited for the first one. I think I've just been gone for too long now. Like my maternity leave, I've just been extending it. And I was like, let me just stop and just get back into the groove of things, get back into my element, and then just keep it moving. Because I have to give the people what they want. gotta give the people what they
Give
want.
the people what they want.
Give the
Lebang.
people what they want. Yeah, man. Look, I've had a good time this morning. Ryan, I hope you've had a good time.
That
Mash,
was awesome.
I hope you've had a good time as
I
well. And as always, you know, when Gareth leaves, I will be honest, it's always like this extra pressure that's put on us because none of us here are Gareth and none of us here can do it like he does. So the mere fact that you stayed and listened all the way till the end is a good thing. It means that, you know, we're not half bad. I mean, we got this. We aight. And we also got you. That's the most important thing. The fact that you're so engaging with us and you've literally listened and you're commenting on the things that we're talking about helps us literally get through all of this. So thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to, Blind History is about to come out, and Blind History, and again, just another gem of a show. Today, it's all about Mansa Musa. Once upon a time, there lived a king who had so much wealth that he could fill great halls to their roofs with it. When he visited the biggest Islamic city of his age, he brought so much money with him that he almost destroyed its economy. But this is no mythical fairy tale, and he wasn't just a big spender. His name was Mansa Musa, and he used his phenomenal wealth to build universities, libraries, and so much more. And in the process, also established perhaps the greatest medieval kingdom in Africa. Now, damn, that is interesting. That is Blind History, which is going to be playing in a moment. That's all from us. Thank you so much for joining the show this morning. Mash, it's all love. Ryan, it's all love. And to you at home listening, it's even more love. We do this every day. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Once upon a time, there lived a king who had so much wealth that he could fill great halls to their roofs with it. When he visited the biggest Islamic city of his age, he brought so much money with him that he almost destroyed their economy. But this is no mythical fairy tale, and he wasn't just a big spender. His name was Mansa Musa, and he used his phenomenal wealth to build universities, libraries, and more, and in the process, established perhaps the greatest medieval kingdom in Africa. Welcome to another episode of Blind History. We're talking today about somebody who's quite mysterious, somebody who I don't think a lot of people who've read all the conventional history books have that much knowledge about, but somebody who, I mean, just by virtue of this man's extraordinary wealth, would have been the richest person in history. And we're not saying by a little way or by a couple of millimeters or a couple of grams of gold here or there. We're not talking about some industrialist of the 1900s. We're not talking about some ancient king like Midas, although this guy's probably about the closest you get to King Midas. We're talking about an African leader in the region that was probably what modern-day Mali, Ghana, Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, Senegal, that area would have been the Malian Empire. His name was Mansa Musa I, or Mansa Keita I. And this guy, I mean, I don't know how much you knew about him before, but Mansa Musa, man, this guy had a lot of ammo.
Sure, he did. They ran some tests in terms of what he would be worth today.
Yeah.
And they were thinking $400 billion. And maybe, J.D. Rockefeller, they reckon around 340 odd billion. Mm-hmm. And all our friends, the Bezos and the Musks and the Gateses, they're still in the hundreds. So
right.
So that's proper wealth that he had. But I think it was the reason, obviously, for the obscurity in the beginning was the way the world was. The bulge of Africa hadn't been properly explored yet. So he was sitting on a gold mine.
and geography was probably the biggest part of why for such a long time this part of the world was so ignored by, Europe and by the Muslim world even, of which he was certainly a part. That you also have that huge Sahara Desert, which is just absolutely impregnable to people who don't know it like the back of their hand. There are Bedouins who've been traveling across the Sahara Desert for thousands of years. But if you don't know what you're doing there, you will die if you try and cross that enormous sea of sand. And on the other side of it, quite far into the interior of Africa and towards the west coast, which, as you say, until that point, hadn't really been explored by sea either, there was this unbelievable empire, this thriving
place where you had, great rulers rise and fall, and you had enormous physical and geological properties that just made it extraordinarily rich.
And also when he finally was discovered, when he went on pilgrimage, it sort of gave hope to Europe, because if we think about the time, I think it was Edward III around about that time, or at least the Edwards in the UK. The whole of Europe had been suffering from plague. There was economic hardships. There was a lot of really tough times in Europe. And now suddenly they saw this person that had, so much wealth, and it was actually a positive feeling that they all created and something they could dream of and aim to try and conquer at a later stage, once they'd found out. So he sort of came out of the woodwork at quite a good time.
Well, yeah, Europe was not having a great time. It was the Middle Ages. The Black Death had just happened. There was quite a lot of misery all over the place. There was certainly not a lot of wealth to go around. And gold has always been a source of wealth for rulers, for kingdoms, for empires. It's been the way that they've expanded, the way that they've shown off their value. It's the way that they've invested in themselves. It's kind of what they used as a currency and payment, store of value, all of that stuff. And Mansa Musa, it's got to be said, if it wasn't for, I think, his predecessor, not too far in front of him, I think it was his great uncle, who was obviously the guy who came to the throne a little way before Sunjata, right?
Correct, yes.
And Sunjata was the first Mansa of the Mali Empire, Mansa meaning king. This guy was also quite an expansionist dude. He also had quite an eye on conquering territory. But really, it was probably his takeover, Mansa Musa's takeover of cities like Gao and Timbuktu, that really cemented his place in history. And he had these kind of deputies that they called fathers that he had run the empire all over the place for him.
And I think those are always the challenges for the ambitious rulers is how do you rule over vast territories and keep control? And I think this is where he was a good administrator, and he was a devout Muslim. And he just brought so much good to that region, revolutionized and modernized the area, and specifically Timbuktu, where a lot of his buildings, his mosques and universities still stand today. It's amazing what type of individual he was. And, the world might not have ever met him because he didn't really have a very strong claim to the throne. His grandfather's brother was the one that I think started the empire, and probably his cousin, whose name was Abu Bakari Kaita II, he thought, no, I need to look at the sea and see if I can figure out what's at the other side of the sea. and so he appointed him a regent while he just popped across, and he never came back.
He disappeared supposedly with a fleet of thousands of ships, and there are legends that he would have found the Western world. Of course, there's no evidence for that, but either way, this man and thousands of ships all just disappeared, leaving Mansa Musa with this incredible empire to administer.
But the good thing is he took it forward. So he didn't take it and ruin it, like a lot of things that were happening in this century.
Well, a lot of people want to know how he, ended up administering this enormous fortune, because obviously the fact that he was so rich is probably the most important and interesting factor about him. But he had obviously gold. They had a lot of gold mines in that part of Africa. And they would really dig it straight out of the rock. I mean, it was all over the place. And the amount of gold was just staggering. We'll get to how on his Hajj pilgrimage, he had 12,000 slaves. Each one was carrying 3 kilograms of gold. Now, remember, they left a whole lot behind, and this was just what they could carry. But he was also rich because of the ivory trade. He was also rich because of the slave trade. That part of the world was famous for selling slaves well before this time and for a long time after.
Correct, but obviously not to the level that happened afterwards when people, where it became more of an open trade, which is effectively what he did. He opened the trade route. I think one of the other resources that they had was salt, which was also in big demand as well, besides the gold and the slaves.
I suppose the most amazing part of this guy's story is the story where he did decide to leave his empire, because if he hadn't done that, we might not have known anything about him. He decided to get together a caravan, a train of 60,000 men. And these 60,000 men, many of them were on camel, many of them were on horseback, many of them were walking. As I said, 12,000 of them were slaves. Each slave carried 3 kilograms of gold. Each camel
carried 12 kilograms of gold. They were bedecked in the finest Persian silks. They were basically the world's most bling caravan ever. I mean, this
exactly.
if this rolled into town, everybody, not just people in the 1300s, but everybody anywhere would have stopped and been astonished. They would have had their tongues hanging out. They couldn't believe, because at this point, no one had seen wealth like this. It was absolutely devastating, because when he rolled into Cairo, for example, there was a little bit of a kind of precedence match between him and the guy who really kind of was ruling over Cairo, which is supposedly the greatest city in the world at that point, or the greatest city in the Muslim world, certainly. This guy, he just gave him 250 kilograms of gold as a gift. He was like, I mean, a kilogram of gold now is what, 60,000 rand, somewhere around there. So if you think about 250 kilograms of gold, just as a, hey, I'm here, we're just visiting your city, here's a little something for you.
I think his nose was out of joint, the Sultan, because he heard that this guy was in town, and the Sultan gave gifts to him of these beautiful rugs and garments and a little bit of silver. And then Mansa Musa just gave him 250 kilograms of gold.
Just dropped that at his feet. So this guy, the Sultan Al-Nasir Muhammad, was a little bit nose out of joint, but also I think the long-term consequences of having this flood of gold into your city, they didn't think about it. The prices went sky high. There was inflation. The value of gold actually dropped. But these guys had so much of it. These Malians had so much of it that they just, even though they increased the price every day for the couple of weeks that they were there, they just kept buying whatever they wanted. That Hajj is probably regarded by many historians as the most illustrious moment in the history of West Africa, which is a huge thing to say. His reign is regarded as Mali's golden age. And it's probably also got something to do with the fact that it was the best recorded by the Muslim sources. History is only valuable if you can actually trace it, you can figure it out, you have reliable sources. And there may have or may not have been greater moments in Malian history and in Ghanaian history, in the history of West Africa. But this was the one that was probably best written down. And it's thanks again to the Muslim scholars who in Cairo and Mecca largely wrote the story of this guy, or we might still have known nothing about him. We might have discovered these incredible buildings in Timbuktu, but otherwise we wouldn't have known very much if it wasn't for their written records.
Correct.
He also paid very careful attention to what was going on in architecture, what they were doing in terms of institutions of learning. And you already mentioned that he built universities in Mali. Now, when we think about universities, we think mostly of institutions that came about after the Renaissance, and maybe Oxford and Cambridge, which were standouts in Britain. But this was the 1300s, and there was our first African university, which was established in Timbuktu, largely because Mansa Musa had been on this pilgrimage and had seen so much of the world and decided that he needed to bring some of this home, and he needed to import some scholars with him. So he paid people in Mecca, he paid people in Cairo, whatever they wanted, to come back with him so that he could establish institutions of learning, so that he could build impressive monuments, so he could build the city of Timbuktu up to where he thought it deserved to be. And really, that was probably a bigger and more lasting legacy than all the bling and the showmanship.
Yeah, some of the greatest minds, in the Middle East, in the Near East, went to Timbuktu, and some of them stayed there. They were given a piece of ground on the Niger River, and they lived the rest of their lives out there.
Right.
And I mean, he had massive influence for Islam in West Africa. It's still prevalent today. So his influence was significant. The challenge that came in is that the European explorers started exploring more and more the bulge of Africa, and then that's where places like Timbuktu and Gao no longer were relevant in terms of the trade routes, because it was easier, as they went by sea. But prior to that, I mean, it was, I think these sayings, even nowadays, I don't know if it's my parents used to say, where is this place? Timbuktu?
Right. Because it felt like it was this bizarre, kind of hidden and mysterious place that was kind of cloaked in mystery. And you'd need a treasure map to find it. And maybe that's part of it, because it was like treasure. At the height of its power, this empire encompassed an enormous territory, probably about as big as the distance between the east and west coasts of the United States. And the number of people in there was enormous too. It was a huge population that he ruled over. And, as you said, and as we discussed just now, he gathered to himself all these brilliant people, poets, architects, and religious scholars, and people who were artisans of various kinds, and built some amazing monuments. I mean, one of them that still to this day is absolutely beautiful is this Jingueba Mosque, which is in Timbuktu, which is made of mud and sticks kind of piled together. And it's been standing since the 1300s and is still used today as a mosque.
And it rivals Alexandria in terms of antiquity, in terms of that type of stature and what he did in Timbuktu. And it's amazing how many people, myself included, I have to say, not too long ago, that didn't know who he was at all.
Yeah, they were so impressed by him, and there was such legends and stories spread about him after his Hajj pilgrimage that, all over Europe, people were talking about him in hushed tones and saying, oh, there's this amazing empire on the other side of the Sahara Desert. They included maps for the first time, which actually showed Africa beyond the Sahara, which not even, the Romans who loved maps, not even the Romans went south of the Sahara. And here on that famous 1375 Catalan atlas that was put together, they featured him and they showed him as this, this great king who's enthroned with a beautiful crown on a scepter, gold in his hand.
Yeah, and that was one of the most famous maps that they used in the medieval times. I'd love to have lived to a certain extent. I wouldn't want to have necessarily died at the age of 30, but imagine there's so much to conquer in the world or to explore, let's say, that hadn't been explored yet. And, coming from Europe, that the whole of Africa lay before you in this expanse. But in the end, he died. I think like all of these things such a long time ago, they're not 100% sure. It could have been 1330, maybe 1337.
Right.
And his sons took over. And I think not necessarily in terms of the way he ran the empire, but more the nature of exploration that took place post Mansa Musa lessened the importance of the Saharan trade route to the gold of West Africa. And then more and more people went around the bulge. And I think that probably, it was the beginning of the end for places like Timbuktu.
Well, it wasn't also managed very well. And the problem here again was that he didn't really make it clear how the succession law was going to work, like who would take over once he was gone. A lot of these great rulers, they tend to think they'll live forever. And then when they go, there's no clarity about who should take over. And then, of course, there's squabbles, there's civil war. All of that took over.
They said that it would take them a month to walk from east to west. His empire was so big at the greatest zenith. As you mentioned right in the beginning, Mauritania, Senegal, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Chad.
Huge.
Northern Ghana. Amazing.
Well, people also spoke about his generosity. Obviously, he really just handed out wealth wherever he went, and he's well known also for having been extremely virtuous. He was a good Muslim through and through. He's not recorded as having done anything that was considered, immoral or unethical, and also being a highly intelligent human being and wanting to spread useful information, good knowledge, the kinds of things that he knew would help his empire to last for a long time, both when he got back home and while he was learning on that pilgrimage.
And I don't think he suffered fools easily because he was very pious. And when the Sultan heard that he was passing through Cairo, he said, you need to present yourself to the Sultan. So he said, no, I'm not going to do that. My manhaj at the moment, I'm not going to present myself. And it was a little bit uncomfortable, let's say. So finally he went to the Sultan and presented himself. What you needed to do was kiss the Sultan's feet. That was normal custom. And he refused to kiss the Sultan's feet. And I think that was to and fro for a while. I don't think he kissed his feet, actually, in the end. But they got on very well.
Of course they got on very well. Wouldn't you get on well with me if I gave you 250 kilograms of gold?
Exactly.
Hell yes.
100%.
Yeah, he certainly was an interesting man. I wish that we'd had more records, written and otherwise, that we could have found out a little bit more about this guy, because it's a bit thin on the detail. But certainly that Hajj, that trip that he took with that huge caravan of people, is one of the most famous in history. And you can imagine it was so long, they say, that from beginning to end, if you saw the beginning and you had a clear horizon, you couldn't see the end. That's how long it was.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And then also you needed to figure out how to, it's such a massive challenge. You know, you're not going through lush forests with lots of apples and, you know, it's the desert.
Absolutely.
It's the Saharan desert. So you really need to come prepared.
Yeah, you kind of wonder what might have happened. And I remember when a bunch of militant Islamists went into Western Africa and started conquering parts of it not so long ago, here in the last 10, 15 years, the one thing they left alone, despite the fact that they destroyed a lot of very precious ancient history, a lot of it to do with Mansa Musa, the thing that they left was the mosque. So even monsters like them understood that they couldn't destroy that.
For all intents and purposes, he was pious and he was a good man.
Yeah, and very, very, very rich.
Very, very rich. And maybe he did knock a hole in his cousin's boat when he set off to sail.
Maybe. I mean, again, just to give you a bit of perspective on how much money he just threw away, that small amount of gold he dropped at the feet of the Sultan of Cairo, if you did that in today's money, they reckon it would be something like $45 million dropped at his feet. Just like, here we go. That's for fun.
Yeah. But I think that this is what's quite nice, is that this is a bit of an appetizer and people now can go and do a little bit more investigation into this, because it was very, very interesting person.
Absolutely. And all those Western African empires, you know, their rises and falls are a little bit less well known than the rest of the history of Africa. So I think there's probably a lot of exploration to be done there still. And who knows, they may still discover, and they are doing archaeological digs in that area now. They may just discover whole cities. They may discover more evidence of Mansa Musa's great reign. And we could just be scratching the surface here on a really exciting new way for history to unfold.
Yeah, and that's why I love history so much.
Damn right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Blind History. Every episode is available on the Cliff Central app, cliffcentral.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the next episode, this guy really did exactly what you'd expect a pharaoh to do. You know, took control, implemented his ideas, conquered vast territories, brought Egypt to the top of its game. And really, you can criticize anybody in history, and rightly we should. But he seems to have done a pretty good job of keeping an extremely difficult empire together.